So, what role does experimental play in my creative work? Like, basically, let me tell you one thing now. Like early morning when I wanted to record artifact, there is a lot of kind of like a something the noise is actually happen over there. So because of that, I like kind of like a distract so easily, and that is really not that good. Yeah, whatever. Focus on your thing. The question is that. Wait. Okay. Question is that what role does experimentation play in my creative work? Okay, yeah, experimentation. Okay, what's the experimentation? All right, yeah, I'm reading it right now to understand what exactly is this thing. All right, yeah. Okay. So what is actually the experimentation? Okay, experimenting, EXPERIMENTAT. I will experimentation. Yeah, it's a very long term, very long word. I'm gonna use experiment. Okay, yeah. What is experiment? Experiment means like that, like example is that thing in your childhood or in your something like in your surround. I don't know. Okay, you probably experience this thing, but you're not really sure. Okay, yeah, like is that ki somewhere like a while you are cooking you kind of like a thought that ki what if I mix with a maggie with a chuda or maggie with a like rice or something else. Okay, yeah, it's a kind of like a something is this thing that ki you thought about this thing, no one does it. Like what if you decided that ki what if I do with this thing? Okay, like even if it fail, that is okay, yeah. So basically is this thing you are trying to do experiment. Okay, like you are not really sure that ki the final product will be gonna good or not. Okay, yeah, but you are trying. Like what if you decided that ki let's make a chicken or sweet chicken instead of like a spicy chicken, let's make sweet chicken. Okay, yeah, it's a kind of like a something very horrible experiment, but it's just like that you wanted to try this thing, you have that kind of like a something curiosity, so you try that thing. Okay, so that is called something really experiment. Experiment is a kind of like a something is this thing you are kind of like a go against the rule or against the boundary and try to create something really good or not good, it's up to you, but it's like that you're trying to create something. Okay, and that is called something really a experiment. Okay, yeah. It's not actually like it's actually happened to the every factor, like basically is this thing in a cooking or in kind of like a drawing or in kind of like a like every creative work. Okay, like basically dancing or something like that, like whatever the mostly creative work. What's a creative work? Creative work means like that you create something, a dancing, a drawing, or kind of like a photography or film or something like that, or cooking. There's a lot of thing. Okay, yeah. So basically you are trying to do experiment with your creativity. Okay, yeah. Question is that ki does this experimentation or does this experiment is kind of like a something like how it work for you. Okay, how it work for you in your creativity, how it work for you means like that if you don't really understand. Okay, yeah. So while we are doing creativity, okay, yeah, mostly people are doing creativity as a hobby. Okay, like basically is this thing, I have hobby of photography, I have hobby of cooking, I have hobby of like something like drawing, or I have hobby of like basically is this thing dancing. Okay, yeah, like whatever the hobby that you have, it's kind of like a something like creativity already, yeah. You actually started doing this thing is because of kind of like a you inspired from someone. Example is that ki like I have kind of like a like doing dance. All right, yeah. But is that ki I don't really have any experiment, I don't really have any kind of like experience or nothing really at all, but I want to do a dance. Okay, yeah. So basically what I do is that I just play bunch of song, okay, in my mobile phone, and I try to do dance, okay, as a freestyle, like whatever the kind of like a something the body moves towards this, I wanted to do this thing, so it's a kind of like a something a freestyle. All right, yeah. So it's kind of like a something is this thing you are actually giving yourself a freedom to do your creativity. All right, yeah. You could do this thing when you are not following any kind of like a rules, or you are kind of like a something doing for yourself like a hobby. Okay, in doing hobby you are kind of like a something complete freedom of doing the things. All right, yeah. But when you are doing creative work for kind of like a something a process, like for a company or for a client or for kind of like a something for yourself, or kind of like a something is this thing is your creative work, is your career, then in that particular time or in that particular situation, you shouldn't supposed to do that experiment. Why? Because it kind of like a sometimes hampered your creativity and something like that. What do you mean by that? Example is that key, like basically I have YouTube channel and I have photography. I am actually interested in photography. I really like photography. I am taking photos, like taking photos, editing photos as good as possible as I can. All right, yeah. So suddenly I realized that ki what if I kind of like a take something like photo like this, or photo kind of like a something like that ki a landscape photography or something like that. Can I do that? Well, I could do that, yeah, because in the photography you always have kind of like a something, you always find something creative task, okay, yeah, which is somewhat kind of like a something resonate your creativity. So this example is not actually relate with the photography, yeah, because in the photography you kind of like take a lot of photos in multiple styles, like a portrait, landscape, and everything, okay, yeah. um let's take another example is that ki you are kind of like a something really something really a dancer, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, you have YouTube channel, same thing, you have YouTube channel, you are actually earning money from the YouTube, and basically you are kind of like a uploading videos about tutorial that how do you supposed to dance like this, dance like that. Okay, yeah, you have millions of followers and you are earning little bit of money from brands and YouTubers and things like that. Everything is really good. Okay, yeah. Somehow you kind of like have little bit of idea that like what if I kind of like a kind of like a something make a dance which is kind of like a something slow, but something that it connect with the hip hop, okay, because all the rest of the history of YouTube journey that you have, you always kind of like a push your hip hop style, but in this time you realize that what if I went classical, okay, yeah. So classical means old or something like that, okay, yeah, and you wanted to execute dance like this, okay, yeah. So when you do kind of like a such thing, then probably most of the people that you follow, they didn't really like it. Why? Because of that ki they follow you, they kind of like a subscribe you on their YouTube platform, for your YouTube platform, that ki they just wants to know the hip hop style, okay, yeah. They didn't really want to be kind of like a something classical, okay, yeah. So basically this thing, before you are actually uploading almost like a video, you will get almost like a millions of views in every video, but suddenly you kind of like upload the classical dance performance, then probably you will get like a thousand, couple of thousand views, okay, which is not really good. It's kind of like a something very deep. So this is kind of like a something is this thing, you won't be able to do kind of like a something experiment with your creativity when you are when that creativity is your career, okay, yeah. In a YouTube platform you have kind of like a something creative liberty. What's a creative liberty? A creative liberty means like a creative freedom that you could do, yeah. It kind of like a something hampered, but still you could do, okay, yeah. What if you are kind of like a working for a client, okay, yeah. In the client it kind of like a something very horrible, because in that particular situation you won't be able to do any kind of like a something creative liberty. Example is that ki you are kind of like a something wedding photographer, okay, your client is the bride and groom, okay, because in the end they are actually paying money to do their work, and you have kind of like a something shoot their wedding, all right, yeah. So you are actually taking this photo, that photo, every photo that you want, all right, yeah. So basically is there is kind of like something one thought that you have, okay, yeah, ki you are actually shooting a kind of like a something like a pre-wedding photography, all right, yeah. So you wanted to take a kind of like a something photo when bride and groom is actually kiss each other at the beach, okay, yeah, like you are at the beach, okay, you are actually shooting at this kind of like something this thing. So basically you have kind of like a something this thought, you talk to the bride and groom. So bride and groom they say that ki, yeah, they could do that, like you could took the photo, okay, yeah, but unfortunately is this thing that ki you shouldn't supposed to be show this photo to this thing, or maybe like a bride and groom are not really comfortable, all right, yeah. So this is what kind of like a something is this thing, you have kind of like a something really very beautiful views and something, the background is really great, the lighting is really great, the sunset is really great, and in that particular situation the couple should supposed to be kiss, and the photo shoot supposed to take at the moment, because it's a kind of like a something epic view, but unfortunately unfortunately bride and groom are not really comfortable. So in that particular situation you have that kind of like a something experimental thoughts, but unfortunately because of the client told you that we are not really comfortable, then you shouldn't supposed to do this thing. All right, yeah. So this is what kind of like a something the experimentation. Okay, yeah, sometimes some experiment really work, sometimes some of the experiment didn't really work. All right, yeah. So this is what kind of like a something is this thing. So that's why every creator is kind of like a maintaining the balance between how do we supposed to push ourselves little bit further. Like you shouldn't supposed to be change entire thing, no. You have to change little things. What's the little things? Okay, example is that, okay, let's talk about this example that we talked about earlier, the bride and groom example. You are photographer, okay, yeah. And basically is this thing, you wanted to take a photo with the bride and groom with the highest romantic as possible as you can. All right, yeah. So what you have to do is that you have to create that such a portfolio where you could kind of like a something create a something like romantic photo with a couple. And you actually have a little bit of experience about, you already done this thing. Like basically you actually shoot couple of photos with a couple who actually kissing each other, and you took the photos very romantically and very aesthetically good. So in that particular situation you created kind of like a something portfolio according to it, so that your viewers and your client are kind of like somebody expecting that key, like in the end that photographer would be kind of like a asked to that kind of like a something photo that couple should supposed to be kiss and we have to take the photo. So this is what kind of like a something is this thing. Okay, so when you have that kind of like something portfolio and people are kind of like expecting this thing that ki, this will gonna happen, then in that particular situation you could do that. You could do that thing in that particular situation. Your client will not hesitate, and basically they are bitterly comfortable and they could kiss each other and you could kind of like take a photo. So this is what it is. All right, yeah. So you wanted to try the experiment, then you have to try experiment little by little when the creativity is your career, because you are actually earning money from your creativity. All right, yeah. So you shouldn't supposed to be changed drastically in the just couple of like a couple of days. No, you have to change little by little, and then try to convince that people ki I have this talent too, and basically they would follow that particular thing. All right, yeah. So this is the kind of like something most important thing is that you have to do experiment, because when you do experiment, okay, when you do experiment in when your creativity, you kind of like something connect with a lot of dots in your mindset, and basically you are trying to create something like content with something like very unique way that you didn't really think of it. Okay, yeah. Which is gonna happen when you are kind of like doing this thing as a hobby, as a complete freedom. But when the creativity is your career, then probably is this thing at that particular situation you wanted to do the experiment, then try to do experiment kind of like a something little less. Okay, yeah, not kind of like a drastically change, no, but little less, so that like your YouTube platform, like your kind of like online platform is kind of like understand who you are and what kind of like a something the audience that could resonate, and as also the client. Okay, yeah. So basically this thing you have to change little by little, not kind of like a drastic change, little by little, and then um, kind of like something to do experiment with this your creativity. All right, yeah. Now the question is that what role does experimentation play in my creative work? All right, yeah. So you already understand what is the early experiment and you understand the creative work. Okay, yeah. So what kind of like a something experiment do I do in my creative work? So in my creative work is a photography. I took the photos and upload on the YouTube platform. So right now this is kind of like a something, is it my career? Okay, right now career means like I'm not really earning any kind of like a money from it, but is that ki I kind of like a something, some people are kind of like a following me. Yeah, not really that much, but in YouTube platform I have 1200 subscriber. Okay, yeah. So like basically in every shorts or every video, like I get almost like a 400 to 500 views. Okay, yeah. So basically this is kind of like a something viewers that I have. Okay, yeah. And they are actually kind of like a something expecting to me that I have to I have to kind of like serve a kind of like a photography tutorial or something, that how do you supposed to take kind of like a something good quality of photo. And why? Because of that I have kind of like a something portfolio regarding about how do we supposed to take cool photos with your mobile phone and something like that, because this is my niche. Okay, yeah. So if I wanted to do experiment, okay, yeah, how do we supposed to do experiment? I wanted to do experiment with a little by little. Okay, yeah, like basically is this thing, almost like a month ago, like a couple of months ago, I was kind of like somebody uploading photos with a kind of like a with mobile phone. Okay, yeah, still I also take the photo with mobile phone. Okay, yeah, it's not really changed, but is that thing ki I didn't really edit that much photo. Okay, like basically I try to change like whatever the physical way that we could be, but is that editing is not like basically I do color grading in the Lightroom, but I didn't really did that much editing in the Photoshop because at that time I'm not really sure how to edit the photo in the Photoshop. Okay, yeah, but since I realized that key like Photoshop is a kind of like a crucial part of the photography. All right, yeah, like because of like if there is no photo editing, then you shouldn't supposed to be enhanced that much. Like you have a lot of creativity, and that creativity is actually showcased by the photo editing. Okay, yeah, so I kind of like a thought that what if I kind of like edit little bit photos so that I could kind of like execute photos in the Photoshop, and I could edit the photo, and basically I could do this thing. Like I just wanted to try this thing. It's a kind of like some experiment, so I just try. Okay, at the initial level it's kind of like a something changing the background, that's it. Okay, like basically at the initial I didn't really change the entire thing. I just the initial level I just kind of like change the background, and that's it. And basically almost like a couple of hundreds and like almost like a 20-25 shots has been almost like editing the background or kind of like change the background, that's it. Okay, yeah, right now I'm kind of like a somebody full on change. Like basically it's this thing that I took one photo and kind of like a change the entire thing, not even the background but everything, like basically aesthetic and lot of things. Like I could use the stock images to make to enhance my photos even more better. All right, yeah, so this is what I do. Because of that I did a kind of like a something step by step change from photography to little bit of photo editing to kind of like enhance the photo a little bit. All right, yeah, so it's kind of like a something little bit journey. And right now I'm kind of like editing photos with a really very, yeah, something like that, like very kind of like a very different aesthetic that it shouldn't be possible in the real world. All right, yeah, it's kind of like a something called Photoshop manipulation. So I'm doing this thing is because of that I have kind of like a something history, and that's why people are actually following me. So yeah, it doesn't mean that I didn't really take that much kind of like a some traditional way of photography. No, I do kind of like somebody took that photo with the traditional way of photography, but it's just that traditional way of photography, if you wanted to kind of like in your traditional way of photography, you really require kind of like some sort of resources like a camera quality, the photos, the aesthetic, like basically like forget the camera quality, like you have mobile phone. Okay, yeah, but important thing is that in the real world you really require kind of like something, some props, some sort of aesthetic, some sort of things. Right now I can't really afford because I'm not really earning any kind of like a something money. Okay, yeah, like basically it's this thing. If I'm kind of like somebody earning little bit of money, then probably I would go into the perfect location that I want to, and then I took the photo, I hire some of the model or hire some of the people who kind of like help me to do this thing, the lighting and everything. Okay, right now I don't really have that much kind of like a source of money to hire those people and hire those equipment to do this thing. Okay, so that's why it's just like that I went to photography, so that basically is this thing I could do this thing the same effect in the digital editing process so that I could execute. Okay, at least this is a kind of like a something really the something really the chance or something really the option that I have. Okay, yeah, like if I have that kind of like something resources, then I would do that. But right now I don't really have it, so yeah, it's a kind of like a something jugaad, so I'm doing it that. All right, yeah, so this kind of like a something experimentation is kind of like a something work on my creativity. All right, yeah, next question. Wait, there are a lot of topics about this thing. Okay, I want to mention over here. Okay, yeah, foster the innovation and fresh ideas. Foster the innovation, obviously fresh idea and innovation are really essential. Breaking the routine obviously is that when you do experiment you have to break the routine and rule. Discovery through play, what is discovery through play? Discovery through play means like that you are actually doing an experiment with your craft. Okay, with understanding things. All right, yeah, reduce the fear of failure. All right, yeah, uh, yeah, it's a kind of like a something is this thing. Okay, like I already mentioned that when you have kind of like a something creativity as your hobby, then you could do this thing. Like basically you don't really like a kind of like a something scared of failure. But when you are kind of like a something earning money from your creativity, then probably this is something little bit of problem, whatever. Okay, yeah, but the failure is sometime happens, like sometime when you do experiment, failure gonna happen, so you have to resonate with this thing. Okay, yeah, understand that. Build a creativity and confidence. All right, when you have that kind of like a freedom to do creativity, freedom to do experiment, then you have a little bit of confidence inside of you, and it's really good. Okay, yeah. Unlock the hidden potential, like a unconventional combination. Obviously, what's the unconventional combination? Like I already mentioned, like what if I mix with a hip hop style with a classical style, so it's a kind of like a something unconventional combination. But if you do this thing, you kind of like create something new. Revealing new direction means like how do you supposed to execute this thing. Yeah. Keep your creativity dynamics. Okay, yeah. What's the creativity dynamics? Prevent the creative stagnation, exploring the various output. Okay, yeah. Enhance the problem solving. Yeah, like basically it enhance the problem solving to understand, like when you do experiment, you kind of like a something you understand, like you are actually facing new problems now. Then when you when you facing the new problem, then when you find the solution, then probably you actually enhance your problem solving skills. Nurture curiosity. Yeah, curiosity is kind of like some the only reason that you do experiment. So yeah. Then enhance the adaptability means like that key, you whatever the experiment that you have, sometime it work, then adapt that, kind of like a something creativity, something like that. So yeah, so this is how you kind of like a something do experiment with your creative work, and it work for you. All right, yeah. Next question.